The science vessel Enlightenment drifted slowly into orbit around the blue-green planet. Captain Lordak watched from the bridge as the ancient world filled the view screen. According to their records, this forgotten system contained nothing of value. Yet here they were, drawn by strange energy readings that shouldn't exist on an uninhabited world. "Scans complete, Captain," said Officer Mallorin. "The planet shows signs of an advanced civilization, but no active technology. The strange part is how the ruins seem to be deliberately covered by vegetation." Lordak nodded. The Relari had only achieved space travel 3 centuries ago. Finding ruins this old was unusual, especially ones giving off energy readings. "And the other signatures?" he asked. "Scattered throughout the system, largest concentrations around the gas giants and in the asteroid belt. Definitely artificial, definitely powered down to almost nothing." Xenoarchaeologist Ziv Fel approached the captain with excitement in her 4 eyes. "Captain, we need to investigate the surface. This could be the scientific discovery of our lifetime." Security Chief Ventor clicked his mandibles in disapproval. "We should report back to the Confederation first." "Protocol states." "I'm well aware of protocol," Lordak interrupted. "But we're 3 months from the nearest outpost. I won't return empty-handed." He turned to Zidfall. "Prepare a landing party. But first, what about that structure on the planet's moon?" Zivfel's skin changed to a light blue color, showing her excitement. "It appears to be some kind of monitoring station, buried under the surface, but our scans detected entry points." 6 hours later, Lordak led a team of 8 Relari through the lunar dust. The airlock they found was massive, clearly built for beings larger than themselves. After some effort, Zivthal managed to activate the ancient mechanism. The door slid open with surprising smoothness. Dim emergency lights flickered on as they entered, responding to their movement. "The air systems are working," said Engineer Kolfen, checking his instruments. "How is that possible after so long?" They moved deeper into the facility. The corridors were built for beings that walked on 2 legs, with writing in an unknown language marking various doorways. "This technology is incredible," whispered Zivthal, running her fingers along a metal panel. "Look at these alloys. Nothing we've seen before." They reached a large circular room with a central platform. As they stepped inside, blue lights suddenly activated along the floor, leading to the center. "Should we proceed?" asked Ventor, weapon ready. Lordak moved forward carefully. As he stepped onto the central platform, a humming sound filled the air. The walls around them transformed into viewing screens, showing images of the solar system. Thousands of small dots appeared, scattered throughout the planets and moons. "What are we seeing?" asked Lordak. A voice responded from nowhere, speaking in perfect Relari. "Greetings, visitors. I am Frank Winters, Command Interface for the Earth Defense Initiative. You are viewing the current deployment of the Human Defensive Fleet." A figure appeared before them. A transparent blue image of a creature standing on 2 legs, with 2 arms and a single head. It wore some kind of uniform. "What are you?" Zivthal asked, fascinated. "I am a holographic representation programmed to activate upon discovery by the next spacefaring species to reach this facility. Humans created me to preserve our knowledge and explain our legacy." "Humans." Lordak tested the unfamiliar word. "Where are they now?" The hologram's expression changed subtly. "Humanity disappeared approximately 500,000 years ago during our war with the entity we called the Void. Before vanishing, we constructed this fleet as our final act, a gift to whoever would come after us." The screens changed to show massive ships, weapons platforms, and defensive structures, all in a dormant state. "The fleet was designed to awaken when needed most," Frank continued. "And I regret to inform you that deep space sensors are detecting the Void's return at the edge of the galaxy. The awakening protocol has begun." Around them, the facility hummed to life as systems dormant for 500,000 years began powering up. The Relari stood frozen as the lunar facility came alive around them. Lights brightened, screens flickered with data, and distant machinery hummed to life. "I don't understand," said Captain Lordak, his voice steady despite his fear. "What is the void? And how can you detect something at the edge of the galaxy?" The hologram of Frank Winters walked toward a large display. His blue form glowed against the dark walls. "The void is not a species or an empire. It is something else entirely. A spreading darkness that consumes everything it touches. Stars, planets, even light itself." The screen showed images of stars blinking out one by one, leaving only blackness behind. "Humans fought the void for nearly 50 years," Frank continued. "We lost colony after colony, falling back to our home system. This facility contains our complete history, including our final battle." Zithal moved closer to the display, her scientific curiosity overcoming her fear. "But what happened to your people? Did they escape? Move to another galaxy?" Frank's expression turned sad. "No, humanity disappeared during our last stand. The records show our final fleet engagement at the edge of the solar system. Then, in a single day, every human vanished from existence. No bodies, no explanation, just gone." "That's impossible," said Security Chief Ventor. "An entire species cannot simply vanish." "Yet we did," Frank replied. "But before disappearing, our leaders enacted eternal vigil, converting our remaining resources into this defensive fleet. They knew the void would one day return." Lordak looked at the massive ships displayed on the screens. "Why would humans build this for other species instead of saving themselves?" "Because that's who we were," Frank said simply. "Our final act was to give future civilizations the chance we never had." A new alarm sounded. Frank turned toward it. "The primary systems are coming online. The main fleet I wants to speak with you." The hologram shifted, replaced by a woman in a different uniform. Her expression was serious, her posture rigid. "I am Susan Miller, Primary Defense Coordinator. Frank has briefed me on your presence." She studied the aliens with a calculating gaze. "The deep space sensors are confirming the void's return. We estimate 60 years before it reaches populated systems." Engineer Colfen checked his instruments. "Captain, I'm detecting massive power surges throughout the solar system. Something is happening." Susan nodded. "The awakening protocol is activating our shipyards and production facilities. Around the gas giant you call Jupiter, our largest shipyards are resuming work on vessels left unfinished 500,000 years ago." The screen showed enormous structures lighting up in the darkness of space. Massive shipyards floated in Jupiter's orbit, their assembly lines beginning to move as robotic systems reactivated. "This is beyond anything we've ever seen," whispered Zidthal. "The energy requirements alone would drain our entire Confederation's resources." Susan smiled slightly. "Humans were very good at finding efficient solutions when our survival was threatened." Lordak stepped forward. "Why show us this? What do you want from the Relari?" "We need commanders," Susan answered. "Our ships have AI systems, but they were designed to be directed by living beings. Humans created us to follow the orders of whoever discovered this facility, if they choose to take up our fight." The room fell silent as the implications sank in. "You're offering us control of the most powerful fleet ever built?" Ventor asked in disbelief. "Yes," Susan replied. "But understand, this is not a gift. It's a burden. The void destroyed humanity. It will do the same to you if you're not prepared." A new alert sounded, and Susan looked away briefly. "The command ship is beginning its activation sequence. The U.S. Guardian will be fully operational within 1 week. You must inform your people and make your decision." She fixed them with a penetrating gaze. "The stars are going dark again. Will the Relari stand where humanity fell? Or will you too vanish into history?" Word spread quickly through the Relari Confederation. Within 2 weeks, their finest minds arrived at the Earth system. Historian Kel Navarro spent days in the lunar archives, learning about human history. Military expert Duvin Mal studied the fleet's weapons and tactics with growing amazement. These humans were remarkable, Kell said during the evening briefing. His scales showed the blue-green color of deep respect. They fought each other for thousands of years, divided by something called nations. But when the void appeared, they united completely in just a few years. Captain Lordak nodded. What else have you learned? They weren't the most advanced species of their time, Kell continued. Several alien civilizations had better technology. But humans had something different. They called it adaptability. They could change their tactics, their technology, even their societies faster than any other species. Dovin Mal activated a holographic display showing human ships in battle. Their military thinking was unique. When they couldn't win with technology, they changed the rules of the game. Look at this battle near a star they called Alpha Centauri. The display showed smaller human ships drawing the Void's forces into a trap, then collapsing a small star to create a massive energy wave. No Relari commander would sacrifice a star, Dovin said. But humans did it without hesitation when necessary. A new hologram appeared, a woman in a different uniform than Frank or Susan. I am Amy Jackson, human military history specialist. You're discussing our tactics against the Void. Yes, Dovin replied. Your people fought in ways we find difficult to understand. Amy smiled slightly. Humans had a saying, necessity is the mother of invention. When faced with extinction, we became very inventive. Lordak asked, can you take us to see the fleet? We've only viewed it through displays. Of course, Amy replied. The main shipyards are now fully operational. You should see what your people might command. 6 hours later, their shuttle approached Jupiter. The gas giant's massive presence filled the viewport, but it was the structures orbiting the planet that left the Relari speechless. Shipyards stretched for thousands of kilometers. Automated factories processed material from Jupiter's moons. Assembly lines built vessels of various sizes, from small fighters to massive carriers. At the center of this activity floated the U.S. Guardian, a dreadnought nearly 15 kilometers long. By the first egg, whispered Kell. This would have taken centuries to build. It did, Amy replied from the shuttle's communication system. Humans worked on this fleet for over 40 years. These shipyards were designed to continue construction even after we were gone. As they flew closer to the Guardian, they saw robots finishing work on the massive ship's outer hull. Energy readings showed its power systems were already active. The Guardian was 80% complete when humanity vanished, Amy explained. The automated systems have been slowly working on it ever since, following the original plans. Now that the Awakening Protocol is active, construction has accelerated. Inside the Guardian's massive bridge, another human hologram waited for them. He wore a simple uniform with 4 gold stars on each shoulder. Welcome aboard. I'm Jack Porter, Fleet Admiral I. This vessel will serve as the command center for the entire human defense force. Dovin examined the bridge with professional interest. How many ships are in this fleet? Over 10,000 combat vessels of various classes, Jack answered, plus support ships, defense platforms, and specialized void cutters designed specifically to damage the void. Lordak looked out the massive viewport at the busy shipyards. Why would humans build all this, knowing they might not survive to use it? Jack's expression softened. Because that's what humans did. We protected others. Our final records contain a message from our last president. If we cannot survive, we will ensure that someone does. This is humanity's legacy. The Relari stood in silence, feeling the weight of a dead species' final gift. The highest council of the Relari Confederation gathered in the great meeting hall on their homeworld. 200 leaders from every colony and clan sat in curved rows, their scales showing colors of worry, excitement, and fear. Captain Lordak stood before them with his crew and the human hologram of Jack Porter. You've all seen the reports, Lordak said. The human fleet is real. The void is real. Both the threat and the opportunity are greater than anything our people have faced. High Elder Zelvan rose from her seat. Her scales had turned the white of pure skepticism. Why should we believe these human ghosts? This could be an ancient trap. Perhaps these humans are testing us, or worse, planning to return and reclaim their weapons. Jack Porter stepped forward. The hologram technology allowed him to appear solid and present, though the Relari could see the slight blue glow around his edges. The humans are gone. Elder, we have been dormant for 500,000 years. Our sensors confirming the Void's return are the same ones that tracked it during our war. You can verify this data with your own scientists. Military Commander Borlak spoke next, his scales bright red with ambition. If this fleet is as powerful as you claim, we should claim it for ourselves. The Relari Confederation could expand beyond our current borders. No other species could stand against us. Many council members buzzed in agreement, their scales shifting to match Borlak's red. Jack's face remained calm. The fleet will not function that way. Humans built in safeguards. The ships will recognize Relari as commanders, but the weapon systems remain under AI control. We will only engage threats identified in our programming, primarily the Void. So we cannot truly control this fleet, asked Science Director Tivmel. You can direct it. You cannot misuse it, Jack replied simply. That was humanity's final protocol. The debate continued for hours. The council split into 3 main groups. The militarists wanted to find ways to override the AI controls. The preservationists argued for leaving the human relics untouched. The progressives supported using the fleet against the Void as intended. As the arguments grew heated, a young messenger burst into the chamber. She ran to Elder Zelvan and whispered urgently in her ear. The Elder's scales turned pale gray with shock. The Deep Space Observatory has sent new data, she announced, her voice trembling. The Void's advance has accelerated. It will reach our outer colonies within 30 years, not 60 as first predicted. Silence fell across the chamber. 30 years was barely one Relari generation. Jack Porter nodded grimly. The Void did this during our war too. Its movement would suddenly increase, as if it sensed resistance, and moved to counter it. Elder Zelvan looked at the human hologram. If we accept command of your fleet, can we stop this thing? Did you discover any weakness during your war? We found weaknesses, Jack confirmed. Our quantum phase technology can disrupt the Void's expansion. We were developing more powerful weapons when humanity vanished. The shipyards have continued that work based on our final designs. Science Director Tivmel's scales shifted to the green of hope. And you would share all this technology with us? Yes, that was always the plan. The council debated through the night. By morning, they reached their decision. Elder Zelvan stood before the human hologram, her scales now showing the gold of formal declaration. The Relari Confederation accepts the human legacy and the responsibility it brings. We will command your fleet against the Void and protect all life in this galaxy. Jack Porter smiled and offered a human gesture, extending his right hand. This is called a handshake. It was how humans sealed important agreements. Elder Zelvan reached out, her clawed hand passing slightly through the hologram in a symbolic gesture that bridged 500,000 years. The Guardian will be ready within 1 month, Jack said. Your officers should prepare for training. The war that ended our species is about to become yours. The next 5 years passed quickly. Thousands of Relari officers moved to the Earth system to train with the human fleet. They lived in newly built stations around Earth's moon, learning to work with technology far beyond their own. Commander Nivelor struggled in the combat simulator again. The screen flashed red with another failure. The human tactics made no sense to him. "You're still thinking like a Relari," said Lisa Young, the tactical AI instructor. Her hologram pointed to the battle display. "You positioned your ships in a perfect formation. That's exactly what the Void expects. But proper formation maximizes our firepower," Nivelor argued. Lisa shook her head. "Humans learned that the Void adapts to patterns. We had to become unpredictable. Sometimes you must sacrifice ships to create an opportunity. Sometimes you must retreat to draw the enemy into a trap. Nivelor's scales turned orange with frustration. These are not Relari methods. That's why humans nearly defeated the Void when more advanced species failed. Lisa replied calmly. We thought differently. Similar scenes played out across the solar system. Relari engineers worked with Bill Murphy, the engineering AI, to understand human technology. Relari scientists studied the quantum phase weapons that could actually harm the Void. In orbit around Jupiter, the massive shipyards worked at full capacity. The Guardian was finished and fully operational. 1,000 more ships were completed each year, their hulls gleaming in the gas giant's light. The asteroid belt was slowly disappearing, its material consumed by the hungry factories. On Mars, Admiral Torlek watched in amazement as the planet's surface transformed. Massive factories emerged from underground bunkers, building ground-based weapons and defensive systems. Robots worked tirelessly, following plans set in motion 500,000 years ago. It's incredible, Torlek said to Jack Porter as they observed from a viewing platform. How did humans build all this? Desperation, Jack answered simply. We knew we were likely doomed, but we refused to let the Void win in the end. Every human on Earth contributed to this project in our final decades. Torlek's scales showed deep blue respect. My people struggle to understand humans. You fought each other for most of your history, yet your final act was to protect species you never met. Jack smiled. That contradiction defined us. At our worst, we were selfish and destructive. At our best, we could be surprisingly noble. In a special training facility on Earth's moon, selected Relari officers experienced historical simulations of humanity's final war. They wore neural interfaces that let them see through human eyes, feel what humans felt. Officer Kemval removed her interface helmet, shaking from the experience. She had just witnessed the Battle of Alpha Centauri, where Admiral Laura Hayes had sacrificed her fleet to evacuate civilian ships. She knew they couldn't win, Kemval whispered. She sent those ships in anyway, to buy just a few more hours for the civilians. Amy Jackson, the history AI, nodded. That was humanity. When faced with impossible odds, we often found our best selves. In the Guardian's main conference room, Captain Lordak met with the Human Eye Council. 5 holograms represented different aspects of human knowledge and strategy. The Relari fleet is now integrated with ours, Jack Porter reported. 20,000 ships total, with 5,000 more under construction. The Void has consumed 3 uninhabited systems in the past year, Susan Miller added. Its pattern matches what we saw in our war. It's testing, probing for resistance. Frank Winters activated a star map. We recommend sending a small battle group to the edge of Relari space. The Void must know we're waiting. Lordak, now an admiral, studied the map. Which ships do you suggest? The destroyer U.S. Vigilant is ready, Lisa Young said. Its sensors are the most advanced in the fleet. It should lead the mission. Lordak nodded. I'll command it myself. It's time we saw this enemy with our own eyes. The U.S. Vigilant moved silently through the darkness of space. 5 smaller Relari ships followed in loose formation. Admiral Lordak stood on the bridge, watching the stars through the main viewport. They had traveled for 3 weeks to reach the edge of Relari space where the Void had been detected. Approaching the target system, announced Navigator Felzan. Sensors are picking up unusual readings ahead. Lordak felt his scales tighten against his body. Show me. The main screen changed to display the star system. At first glance, everything looked normal. A yellow star with 6 planets, but at the outer edge of the system, something was wrong. The stars beyond seemed dimmer, as if something was blocking their light. Steve Bennett, the combat eye, appeared on the bridge. Unlike the other human holograms, Steve wore the uniform of a soldier rather than an officer. That's it. That's the Void. It doesn't look like much, said Weapons Officer Rivdal. Watch, Steve replied. They observed for 6 hours. Slowly, the darkness grew. Stars disappeared one by one, as if being erased from existence. The edge of the darkness moved toward the system's outer planet. It's consuming everything, whispered Lordak, just as the record said. Steve nodded grimly. The void doesn't just destroy. It erases. Matter, energy, even light, all gone. During our war, we lost entire colonies this way. Billions of lives simply vanished. Can we stop it? Asked Commander Tavrell, her scales pale with fear. We can fight it, Steve answered. Activate the quantum phase cannons. Let's show your people what humanity's last weapons can do. The Vigilant moved closer to the darkness. Lordak felt his heart beating faster. This was the enemy that had defeated humanity, a species capable of building the incredible fleet they now commanded. Quantum phase cannons charge, reported Rivdal. Ready to fire. Target the leading edge of the void, ordered Lordak. Fire. Brilliant beams of energy shot from the Vigilance weapons. Where they struck the darkness, ripples of light spread outward, like stones thrown into a black pond. For a moment, stars became visible again within the damaged area. It worked, exclaimed Tavrell. Temporarily, cautioned Steve. Watch. The darkness closed again, healing itself, but slower than before. The Vigilant fired a second time. Again, the darkness rippled and broke, showing clear space beyond. The void is reacting, warned Steve. It's sending tendrils toward us. Dark streams of nothingness reached out from the main mass. They moved with purpose, seeking the ships that had caused the damage. Evasive maneuvers, ordered Lordak. All ships maintain distance and continue firing. The small fleet danced away from the reaching darkness. The Reluri ships followed the Vigilance lead, firing their newly installed quantum weapons. Each hit created ruptures in the void, forcing it to heal before advancing. After 3 hours of fighting, the void's advance had slowed significantly. The tendril attacks became less frequent. We're hurting it, said Lordak with amazement. I didn't think that was possible. Steed's hologram nodded. Humans discovered this weakness in our final battles. The void can't easily process the quantum states created by our weapons. But be careful, it learns and adapts. As if responding to his words, the void suddenly pulled back. The darkness retreated, moving away from the system. It's leaving, asked Felzan in disbelief. No, said Steve. It's changing tactics. This is what it did in our war too. It retreats, adapts, then returns stronger. It's studying us. Lordak watched the darkness recede. We should return with this data. The fleet needs to know what we've learned. As the Vigilant prepared to leave, Steve addressed the bridge crew. You've seen what we're fighting now. The void consumed my species, but not before we found its weakness. With the combined fleet, we have a chance humanity never had. Lordak nodded, his scales showing the gold of determination. We will not waste the chance your people gave us. A great gathering filled the space around Earth. Over 10,000 warships formed a massive sphere around the blue planet. The ships varied in size and design, from small, fast attack craft to enormous dreadnoughts and carriers. At the center of this formation, the U.S. Guardian waited, its 15-kilometer length dwarfing everything around it. On the Guardian's bridge, Relari Admiral Zev Tor stood beside the hologram of Karen Davis, the command eye. They reviewed the final battle plans as reports came in from across the fleet. All ships report ready, said Karen. The Void has consumed 2 more systems since Admiral Lordak's encounter. It's moving faster now, directly toward populated worlds. Zev Tor nodded. In the 5 months since the Vigilance mission, the Relari had committed fully to the coming war. Their own shipyards now built vessels using human designs. Their scientists work day and night to improve the quantum weapons. The other species have arrived, reported a communications officer. Zev Tor looked up at the main screen. Ships from 11 other spacefaring civilizations had joined the human Relari fleet. Some were longtime allies of the Relari. Others were former enemies. All had set aside their differences when they learned about the void. "They've seen our evidence and believe the threat," said Karen. "That's more than humans managed to achieve until it was too late. Many alien species didn't join our fight until the void had already consumed their outer colonies." Zevtor's scales showed a mix of pride and concern. "We have you to thank for that. Without humanity's warning, we might have made the same mistake." A message came through from the lunar base. "Admiral, High Elder Zelvan requests your presence for the Unity ceremony." 3 hours later, Zevtor stood in the great chamber beneath the lunar surface. Representatives from 12 species gathered in a circle. At the center stood holograms of humanity's last leaders, men and women who had made the final decision to build the sleeping fleet. High Elder Zelvan stepped forward, her scales gleaming with formal gold. "Today, we honor the sacrifice of humanity. They could not save themselves, but they gave us the means to save ourselves. We pledge to use their legacy wisely and to remember their name for all time." Each representative spoke similar words in their own language. It was a solemn moment. 12 living species paying respect to one that had vanished 500,000 years ago. After the ceremony, Jack Porter approached Zevtor privately. "There's something you should see before the fleet departs, something only a few humans knew about." Jack led Zevtor and Zelvan to a sealed chamber deep within the lunar base. Inside, they found rows of crystal containers, each glowing with soft blue light. "What are these?" asked Zelvan. "Humanity's final secret," Jack replied. "Data crystals containing the digitized consciousness of volunteer human soldiers, scientists, and civilians. 5,000 of them." Zevtor stared in shock. "Are you saying there are actual humans preserved here?" "Not exactly," Jack explained. "When our scientists realized humanity might not survive as physical beings, they developed this technology. These volunteers gave up their bodies to remain as guides. They've been waiting for worthy successors." "Can they be restored?" asked Zelvan. "No. The technology to create new bodies was never completed. But they can communicate through our AI systems, sharing their knowledge and experience." Jack gestured, and the crystals began to pulse with light. "They're awakening now. They'll join the AI crew on each major vessel, not truly alive, but not truly gone either." Zevtor felt a deep emotion he couldn't name. "So humanity found a way to fight beside us after all." "Yes," Jack said simply. "That was always the plan." 2 days later, the combined fleet moved out from Earth's orbit. Leading the way was the U.S. Guardian, jointly commanded by Admiral Zevtor and Karen Davis. Aboard each major ship, human consciousness worked alongside alien crews, an echo of humanity fighting its ancient enemy once more. As the massive fleet jumped to faster-than-light speed, Earth grew smaller behind them. The blue planet had been empty for 500,000 years, but humanity's final act would now reshape the galaxy's future. In their darkest hour, humans had chosen hope over despair, cooperation over isolation, and life, even if not their own, over extinction. And that choice would now give 12 species a chance that humanity never had.